Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to something slightly different today. It's going to be a new playlist, a new series that I'm going to be running alongside the Forged Alliance Forever promotional lot. It's going to be entitled Epics, and actually stems from some ideas for TA for Life. He wanted some recasts done of some earlier replays that he'd casted a while back. Mainly because he was unhappy with the picture or sound quality. It was an older set of machines, or an older machine he was working with, so he just wanted them redone for posterity. So if you have seen them already, don't worry, it is intentional. It's just so we have the best possible quality of the best possible matches, and he thought it'd be nice to get someone else's take on it too. So that is where we're at. Anyway, on to today's one, the first in the series. It's going to be a match between CrazedChariot and Zock, and the map is going to be Vya-3 Protectorate. So let's head on over there and see how this is going to turn out. Of course, you'll notice you would usually have the map name Vya-3 Protectorate under there, but that's before the useful feature was introduced on FAF. This is, of course, one from the GPG days, older patch indeed. So I will try to remember to put the map name in the description below in this series. If I don't, feel free to yell at me in the comment section, as many of you often choose to do. But anyway, let's take a look at where these guys are placed. Down here at the bottom left, in the red corner, we've got CrazedChariot. He's going UEF, opening land, couple of P-gens, and a bunch more P-gens around the air factory. He's going to get up second. Very standard build, and almost identical, except for the fact that Zock's going to utilize kind of double coverage on that single line of P-gens. He's going exactly the same otherwise in terms of setup. This map, of course, very entertaining in the Rise of the Immortals trophy. If you guys remember, that was the quarterfinal bout, and Brain Bunch kind of humiliated Pink Paranoia by building a Mazecom and marching it up here to the top right, where Epic's base was. And very entertaining. That can be found elsewhere on my channel if you take a look for it. But back to today's game, you can see CrazedChariot opening with some lab play, a couple of mech marines, and they've got orders assigned to go to the different far corners, it looks like, of Zock's base. No radar coverage this early on, of course. Wants to pick up some of these early engineers that are coming out of Zock's base. But interestingly, Zock avoiding the stage of lab play, getting out Mantis first, anticipating, I imagine, the lab play from CrazedChariot, wants to get one up, and then he goes for the hunters. He goes for the labs a little bit later on in his build queue, so he can use those to greater effect a little later on. Try and pick up those engineers, give them a chance to, I suppose, come out into more vulnerable areas of the map. But anyway, this is about to have first contact down here on the right-hand side. Some nice micro happening from CrazedChariot. Might even get the better of this Mantis. Oh, it survives with 11 hit points, and at almost exactly the same time up here at the top, CrazedChariot is circling around, trying to get a bead on this engineer down here, but I don't think he's going to manage it. Oh, and that engineer gets down to 75 hit points, so not in any immediate success for Chariot there, but definitely some nice play. He's got a little forward vanguard of mech marines coming alongside this Snoop for vision. But of course, thanks to the early Mantis that Zock's got out, should give him an advantage on hit points. It's all going to come down to how well he micros, unless the two miss each other. Unlikely, since they both have scouts in play in these groups. He splits off the hunter. He's going to send that forward, hopefully to pick up that engineer or harass whatever's down there. Maybe go and grab a couple of mass points. But those engineers, sorry, those mech marines getting absolutely stalled. The micro running out there as Chariot's attention is elsewhere. And Zock's forces easily pick that up. You can see this lone hunter just wailing away. If he got a little bit further forward, he could pick up this engineer. Indeed, that engineer is looking like it may go down. Oh, that's a waste. Poor Chariot is losing out slightly early on in terms of attention, and now we've got quite a significant little force happening in the early games. We approach the 5-minute mark from Zock. He's bringing a whole lot of units forward to this group of 4 mass points, and there's nothing in terms of defense currently up and running for Chariot. He's got a couple of strikers down here at the left-hand side, but they are definitely going to be late to this party. There's fashionably late, and then there's too late to save your mechs, and I think this is more likely the latter, as 2 go down, 3 is about to follow, and number 4 will not be long for this world either, as that promptly materializes into Wreck City. So some nice work from Zock, him taking the early initiative at this stage. Meanwhile, in terms of ACU positioning, we can see Chariot has moved out to the right. Looks like he's starting kind of a forward base production area in between sort of places 1 and 2 down here at the bottom. And then, actually it's more likely 3 and 4, isn't it? 1 and 2 would be at the top. But Zock's ACU is still very much planted in the base. He's anticipating future factory production. He's got these templates out, and he's just going to be plonking down probably air factories, I'd imagine, in those. And that will give him a bonus on getting those early interceptors and bombers out, or potentially getting some upgrades on a little bit later. But now he's got some forces massing over on the left-hand side. It's a very grisly amount of Mantis, and it's quite a grisly amount of Strikers and Lobos as well. But it's all going to come down to who lines up what. If Zock can get a nice concave on these forces, doesn't look like he's spreading it out, looks like it's a drag formation. And Zock promptly deciding he doesn't want any real part of that in a stand-up fight. He's going to back off. Like rather an even exchange there for the most part. But in terms of map control, for the moment, unless CrazedChariot starts moving some forces down here, it looks like Zock could be the first to secure it. He's got a lot of engineers spamming out of this factory here. It looks like he may be using those to get some kind of a base going on the right. He's wisely directing forces over on the right thanks to this group of strikers that's coming in. But again, there's a little bit of a incident happening over here on the left. And Zock did have a nice broad face of his formation lining up against the corner of Chariot's forces. Chariot, of course, has some Lobos in there, so he's able to outrange those Mantis. Zock quickly notices and marches straight forward. Once again, I think this will probably be a pretty even exchange. He's skirted some forces around the left, but Chariot has already got some plasma cannons in place. They deal very nicely with those, so no run-bys likely to happen on the left-hand side for the immediate future. And at the same time, over on the right-hand side, those strikers look like they're going to be outmatched by superior forces, superior numbers of Zock's forces. If they can move forward on the left, though, they might be able to snag a few engineers that have recently started a very poorly advised reclaim mission in the area. I don't think Chariot was quite paying attention to that particular part of the map at that point in time. And look, as I did indeed say earlier, it looked like he was going to. Zock has managed to secure at least a partial base down here in the bottom right. If you can hold on to that, that will put Chariot in a very poor position at the start of this game. As I say the start, we're already at minute 10, so all to play. But I can guarantee you, of course, if I'm playing one of these matches to you, they're not short ones. They're generally going to be quite long ones, so be prepared. And incidentally, of course, if I do miss anything, I do apologize, but there's likely to be a hell of a lot going on different sides of the map at the same time. So another little push anyway happening on the left-hand side. Zock just jostling for position as these two groups of units line up to face off against each other. That mass point looks like it's going to go down. CrazedChariot not moving into position to defend it, not happy with the numbers at the moment. However, I don't know, I think he's probably sitting advantage. We have got T2 in the area. He's certainly producing pillars out of that now, and that will give him a nice advantage. The first one is moving to the front of the formation, and indeed taking the initial pot shots at it, but strolling incredibly close as well. But look at the amount of fire it takes. 1,200 hit points base on those pillars, so very tanky indeed, as opposed to the 300 on the strikers, so it's worth 4 times the hit points. And again, a nice little concave from Zock. Chariot not presenting the broad face to his enemy, but he has chosen to mix in a few Lobos in there. I'm not seeing any Medusas on the part of Zock, so of course the longer that Zock presents his unit sitting in range, yes, he might, if he's paying attention, might be able to get concaves, better positioning than CrazedChariot, but he's going to be taking a lot of outranged fire from that artillery, so he decides to back off, as wisely he should. In terms of map control, it's looking rather one-sided at the moment. Zock basically controlling nearly 3/4 of the map, and that can't be allowed to continue. If I slow this up quickly while I check the economies, CrazedChariot sitting on what looks like 56 mass, whereas Zock sitting on 97? 90? No, it's in the 60s actually. There's so much reclaim going on. That would be quite a significant advantage indeed. But ASF's out for CrazedChariot, and they are making their way over, I guess, on an initial scouting run to the far side of the map over by Zock's base. Indeed, he started production of ASFs as well. So very early T3 air on the field for both guys, and broadswords in production for CrazedChariot, so he's going to be using those to help him gain a little bit more map control. Certainly on the left-hand side, it's looking a little bit dicey for Zock's forward forces, but he has made the move to T2, the transition to T2 with this land factory at the back, and it's not surprising he's chosen that. That will be as a direct result of the appearance of these pillars on the left. He needs to try and combat that, doesn't want to lose this top left base that he's got going on. Serious forces amassing for him as well at the bottom right, but of course that's up against the ACU and the PD that CrazedChariot's got running. He's got 5 factories spewing out T1 units as well, as those air units return from a whatever reconnaissance mission they were on, and a light transport, what looks like full of engineers, making the move into the middle. But it looks like Zock may have forgotten about the very hostile neutral, in inverted commas, anti-air units in the middle. He promptly loses all those, which is not something you want to be doing on a daily basis, because that's terrible for your health and your ranking. But these forces on the left for CrazedChariot making a very significant push up towards this top left base. We'll speed it up a little bit. And there are some Wagners. There are indeed some Wagners on the field for Chariot, but the pillars look more numerically superior as they run past, destroy all the engineers that were working on that point defense. That autogun, it really could do with taking out this land factory, get rid of both of these land factories. In fact, they're both on T2. If you get rid of those, it would eliminate the T2 production on this side of the map and give him a slight advantage. Oh, as that factory plummets to around 2,000 hit points, he's not going to stay, and I don't really blame him. That's pretty significant numbers that have suddenly turned up. He has got quite a few pillars in there still, like 4 or 5. But if he carries on going, he'll thin out these troops. I'd like him to turn around and finish this off. I'm not sure he's going to. He's using it more as a harassment technique. But down here at the bottom, we have a major engagement. CrazedChariot's forces finally moving forwards. And in the face of such overwhelming numbers and in so much T2, Zock deciding to withdraw that horde of Mantis that he's been massing down there for some time. As it looks like little spiders kind of just creeping off through the undergrowth. It's hideous. But in hot pursuit, CrazedChariot's land forces are still following. And it's going to be interesting to see where they stop to. It's a continuous game, backwards and forwards, back and forth at the moment. Both of these guys losing out, but we've got a significant air engagement happening at the top. Certainly Zock's got a lot of ASFs now, and he's bringing them down because look what this broadsword's managed to do. That bottom right-hand base has been completely obliterated. I don't think it's going to make it back home to safety of any kind of anti-air. That's going to get absolutely annihilated by these ASFs from Zock. But again, another pretty significant engagement, and rather unfortunately for Chariot, that hill is causing him all kinds of trouble, bisecting his forces and blocking a lot of the shots on the left-hand side, so it's nullifying a fair old wedge or whack of his combat power. But Zock looking like he's got the air advantage for now, but holy moly, look what's going up here at the top as well. Another push from CrazedChariot, the stuff happening on all sides of the map. Whole bunch of mass extractors down, another T2 mechs bitten the dust. And this is very close indeed to Zock's currently unguarded flank. He's trying to spam up Cerberus turrets as quickly as his economy will let him do. And while we're on the subject of eco, let's see how that's affected Zock. Zock is down to, well, actually, he's still managed to increase despite the fact that he's lost all that territory and those mechs. He's obviously been building them up in terms of tech. He's up to around 71 mass now. CrazedChariot, however, is ahead of him on 78. There's not a huge advantage, but an advantage nonetheless. So his game swinging from one side to the other. Another mass point going down at the top. Zock has got his ACU in close proximity. Doesn't look like he's got any kind of gum upgrade on there for the moment, but you can bet he'll have, well, of course he'll have overcharge, because this is, of course, back in the day. He won't have needed to build power storage, I don't think. It just came with it. That will give him invaluable protection for his base. You can see some of the Cerberus turrets just getting in range. So there's kind of a mini point defense creep going on, as Zock wants to make absolutely sure that these forces don't come trundling into his base. I'd like to see Chariot maneuver them around the back and try and do some damage on this side. Of course, it's all very well and good me saying that. I have full vision. But it would certainly be the ideal thing for him to do. We've actually got some whalers, the T3 gunships, out for Zock as well. That's going to help him thin out this crowd of T2 no end. Nothing they can do about it. There are no skyboxes in that mix. And that's a very ill-advised parking space indeed. Bound to get a ticket. Indeed, there they go. And CrazedChariot promptly realizes this and decides to move them off. The question is, will he be able to get them out of range of those Cerberus turrets? I'm not sure he will. That looks like the end of what could have been quite a promising attack. But once again, this previously damaged base at the top left seems to be online and pumping out units again. If he managed to finish off those factories, that may have stood him in better stead, rather than making that initial push with that first group of units. Certainly all the damage that he caused on this area of the map was from that push that I nearly missed, of him drawing those units up through the middle. The middle has changed hands again, though. Zock seems primarily in control. There is an engineer kicking about for CrazedChariot, but they don't seem too bothered by fighting over those 4 central mass points. Is it 4? No, so, excuse me, it's 8 initial central mass points. So there's quite a lot of mass to be had, but neither guy focusing on it too heavily. But we've got T3 land has made its way over to Zock's front doorstep. Whole bunch of Titans, 4 of them to be precise, and they're going to start kicking the living balls out of these mexes. But they're not going to be able to do anything about that whaler that's going to slowly pick them off. Quite a lot of damage they kick out, those whalers. Very underrated as far as gunships goes, but massively superior numbers for Zock over on the right hand side now. So the game has definitely changed in that term. You can see he's definitely winning that. CrazedChariot trying to withdraw, but he's overcommitted. I don't think any of those are going to survive. Maybe 1 or 2. That could be serious for Chariot. He's made a push over here on the bottom right to remove Zock once again from this position that he keeps seeming to be able to take. It's quite extraordinary. There's a couple of auto guns in place, but thankfully for Chariot, he's got some Lobos in the mix. They're going to be able to deal with those without too much difficulty, I think, unless he gets unnecessarily close. A couple of engineers just walking into their death. They could do with taking out these engineers as well, stop them producing any more. Indeed he does. And that push continues a little bit further left from Zock. He's got a lot of T2 units in there, but there are some triads going up. The question is, will they go up in time? I'm not sure they're going to manage it. Lots of Wagners in the mix. And all those units are going to go down. That triad doesn't get finished. I'm not sure it would have made that much difference anyway. But that looks like the end of what is essentially quite an important manufacturing base for Chariot. That's 4 T1s and a T2 factory. And in terms of map control, things looking a little bit dicey now for Chariot as he's making another push up here with the 4 or 5 Titans. This time he's covering them with some ASFs. Doesn't want that whaler trick to get the better of him twice. And as he succeeds in nullifying almost all of the units up here and the mass points once again, that again makes this little left-hand side looking a little bit precarious for Zock. However, he's got an awful lot of Cerberus turrets in place now, so if Chariot's going to march on him, he better have a decent number of units. I don't think 5 Titans are going to do it. Indeed, he's not going to try it. He's going to march them elsewhere try and harass some of these other facilities that are dotted around the map for Zock. Take down some more mexes. As we pass the 22-minute mark, Zock looking like he's doing very nicely on map control once again. Broadswords out down here in the bottom left for CrazedChariot. There are, however, no bangers in the mix at all, I don't think, for Zock as far as I can see them. So unless he comes with some ASFs, that's going to slowly get whittled down. But if he can get up here, he could cause some damage. This is where the UEF T3 facility is located. Wants to take that out if at all possible. Could also score a great deal of points, taking out all of these engineers. That would definitely slow up CrazedChariot a great deal. Has got a secondary base of T1 factories over on the left. Thankfully for him, he's got some plasma cannons in place. Oh, he could do with another Titan rolling off right now, but he's got a few kicking up here anyway. Wants to save these engineers if he can. That's a very nasty loss. He's lost a good bunch of them there. Looked like about 8 engineers have bit the dust. But these Titans should be able to finish off the rest of these forces without too much difficulty. Broadsword still going to town on that other force. But another group of Mantis down here for Zock. Just harassing this facility, taking out this mass point as well. Chariot's forced to bring out his ACU to chase them away. But things now, conversely, looking very promising for Zock. If we take a look at the ecos and how these guys are doing, Zock, once again, still in the 70-something mass point. He's reclaiming so much. I'm waiting for it to drop down to what he's actually at, but I'm certain I saw a 70 in there. Unless my eyes deceive me. CrazedChariot also reclaiming a hell of a lot, so I don't think we can discern exactly what these guys are on in terms of mass. But I'd like to see another mod, if any of you mod makers out there are listening, where I can directly see what the mass is in terms of actual income, disregarding reclaim. I don't know how difficult or easy that would be to do, but pretty big air engagement happening now over on the right-hand side between the ASFs. And it looks like Zock is pretty heavily outnumbered. And if CrazedChariot can maintain air control, that could turn this around once again. Indeed, Broadsword's going to town down here again. He's trying to get a T1 anti-air turret up, but not going to manage that in time. All of the engineers go down long before that gets completed. That is going to be the end of this bottom right base once again. Meanwhile, up here at the top left, CrazedChariot is pushing again with a whole group of Titans. Still in that phase where he's been fearing, I guess, the spam, so he's not producing Percivals yet. But needs to think about it because Zock is now on T3 land himself. He's got loyalists out, and I wouldn't think it'd be too long before he starts producing more bricks. So the game is definitely entering that T3 land phase. Smaller groups, smaller numbers of more expensive, high damaging units. But Chariot has really made the switch to air. He's disregarding all of the spam indeed. Oh, a lot of engineers getting picked up down here at the bottom. That's a very nice grab for Zock indeed. Reclaim missions have never been so dangerous. And that's actually quite a catastrophe for Chariot. We would have wanted to get in here, start expanding again, pick up those mass points and the rest of that reclaim from his previously owned factories. But Broadsword's just going to town. 36 kills on one, 35, nearly 36 on the other. So those Broadswords have definitely paid for themselves. And Zock needs to get a handle on this air business if he doesn't want to get shoved out of this game. He's not going to be able to manage that unless he can get superior numbers of ASFs into the air. Cybrin, of course, have a nice advantage with their stealth if they're out of range of Omni, but Zock not currently using that function at the moment, as of course does cost extra power. And if you're trying to get up large forces of ASFs, chances are powers may be a hang-up for you. If we take a look at how he's doing on the power, he's got a decent amount, but not looking like he's going to get it back anytime soon, as another group of reinforcing ASFs comes in for Chariot. That was a nasty amount. Let's see how many ASFs he's actually got on the field. 40 ASFs out now for Chariot. And Zock having to start again each time. And a group of engineers out for Chariot. He wants to make landfall with them, start building a base up, get in some reclaim. But annoyingly for him, there's a few loose units out for Zock. He seems to be able to send out at will. There's an incredible amount of micro and split attention going on from Zock, managing these small groups all over the map. But eventually he manages to get rid of them, drop off all those engineers. And if Zock can't get something over here quickly, he's going to have a re-established base over here at the bottom right, whilst having lost air control. And that could really put him in a very difficult position indeed. So I can't believe how much back and forth is going on in this game. One guy ahead, only to lose it and probably go back in the other direction. Zock trying to get some T3 anti-air up. He's actually working on some strategic missile defense. I suppose it's getting to that time in the game. 28 minutes gone. Don't know if he's seen anything. Certainly there's no nuke launcher in production for Chariot, unless he's building it in a very peculiar place. But then I don't see he would have had the scouting intel to see anything anyway, being as he's been so completely outgunned in terms of the air fight. But down here at the bottom right, CrazedChariot does have that base online now. And those groups of engineers are going to expand out to pick out those mass points you can see there. And lucky for him, he's got these broadswords, because a few more units coming in now to hopefully deal with it from Zock. He gets the jump on them with one ASF, but there's no way they're going to be able to take down one broadsword, let alone two, before the horde of defending ASFs pursues him and shoots him down. And luckily for me, the pace of this game has slowed up somewhat. CrazedChariot focusing very heavily on air now, very wisely so, as he's got the air advantage. Wants to continue to keep making these passes over Zock's base to keep thinning them out so he doesn't retain any kind of air force and build up numbers. But the trouble is, every time he does that, of course, he's going to lose X number of ASFs from the ever-increasing number of SAM sites that are getting built inside Zock's base, which is why, of course, he was switching up to them a little earlier. Some ground forces making their way, but they're inferior in tech to the groups of Mantis, the groups of Titans just chilling here over on the left. And then, of course, the broadswords come in as well. And things starting to go from bad for worse for Zock. If he can't get a handle on this air game, he's going to find himself in a very sticky position indeed. And large groups of Titans now getting together over here on the left-hand side, coupled with the broadswords. He has been producing a lot of static burstmasters, the T2 flak for Cybran. You can see they do a pretty damn good job against the broadswords, but unupgraded shields do not, however. And he's probably going to start working on all those engineers, wants to slow up the production as quickly as possible. One goes down, another is going to go down. Will he get all four of them down in time before those broadswords start falling out of the air? I believe he will, especially with those reinforcing Titans. Only sends a small group in to help finish them off, though. The rest are going to move up through the middle. We'll see if we can see where they're moving to. They're just moving to there. He's going to hold position. Chariot not running over Zock at this stage in the game. I feel like he could potentially be a little bit more aggressive. But you can't blame him. It is Zock, after all, who is arguably one of the finest SOPCON players of all time. One loyalist just on a hero mission is going to grab a whole bunch of engineers down here, it looks like, as he wanders on over. One engineer down, two down, and there's no way they're getting out of there. That's a nice little pickup for Zock. But ASF still making those passing routes. Of course, he has to continuously keep building them if he wants to stay ahead of the game. Zock just kind of producing them off and on. But I must be wondering, I'd be intrigued to see if and how he's going to get out of this mess, because currently things not looking good for Zock. He's hemmed in, he's lost. He did previously have 3/4 of the map. He now only has a quarter. CrazedChariot doing very well switching up to that air game. This single loyalist, he needs to get some broadswords over there to defend this bottom right base. But they're all the way over here and incredibly slow. I wonder if he's going to bother or he's going to send them on the attack. Probably more sense to just do the latter. Must be worried about this little group of Cerberus turrets. Needs to get in here and start doing some damage. but I certainly feel like he could. Can't see any Burstmasters down here, or any bangers for that matter, but it'd be so easy for him to start spewing those out, which kind of nullifies small numbers of broadswords. Loyalists having so much success down here. 3 mass points now down, working on the 4th, which is a T2, and Chariot resorting to try to take it down with a T2 transport. You know you're out of units when you're doing that. But still just hovering over there, so desperate to maintain this air advantage. At the same time, of course, he's just losing the occasional ASF to those 2 SAM sites. But I guess he feels that that's an acceptable trade as long as he keeps down the number of ASFs coming out of Zock's factory. You can see a Fat Boy has been queued up. They're definitely moving into that phase of the game now. See if there's going to be any response from that. Can't see any Monkey Lords go, but he's definitely very concerned about nukes. That missile defense getting some assistance there from the commander. Wants to get one in the clip, or one in the hole rather. But not deciding to march on his main base. Chariot is going to, or looks like he's posturing to take out this bottom right base. Feels like it's a more vulnerable threat. However, the longer he takes the form up, the more difficult it's going to be, as Cerberus turrets are under construction. And so are lots of T1 PD as well. But he's not going to hang about. He is going to move in. Can't really assist with too many broadswords because, of course, there's a lot of bangers in there. There's a lot of Burstmasters, or a couple of Burstmasters, about 3 or 4. But promptly makes the march on the base. That shield's going to go down. Unupgraded Sideburn shields, of course. Woeful the amount of shield coverage that they provide. And if only there were more broadswords in the mix. Massive EMPs, of course, popping out from those loyalist explosions, which gives him a small amount of breathing room. And the longer that this goes on, the more Cerberus turrets that are going to be in play. But I'm not sure it's going to be enough. There's still an awful lot of Titans involved there, and indeed more coming in to reinforce. You really do feel like life is looking very difficult for Zock at this stage. We have got some bricks out now for Zock, which is absolutely the right move. Needs them to deal with this Titan spam, and deal with them they should if you can get them up in enough numbers. But that forward base is now gone, and every moment that this game goes on, Zock is looking more and more hemmed into the top right corner. As he gradually loses, gradually loses more and more control over this map. That that loyalist moves forward. Bricks in support. But promptly moves back as they jostle the position. Chariot just deciding not to get too heavily involved. Obviously wants to engage with these broadswords, but not get too close, because there are 4 bangers coming in to reinforce. He is sending the broadswords in. There's a mild lack of intel. Wants to pick up these units. I guess he feels he's that far ahead. It's the AoE damage on the flak which makes them so effective against gunships. You newbies out there, it's not just a question of building rows and rows of T3 anti-air. The flak definitely has its place. It's incredibly good against gunship spam. And Zock now doing everything he can to keep Chariot out of this bottom section of his base. And of course, while he's doing that, the top section is looking slightly vulnerable. March of the Titans is continuing. Indeed, Zock is producing the odd spy plane. He's trying to assess at this point if and where he can do or cause Chariot any kind of pain at all. Not sure what he can do at this stage. And that maneuver I was saying CrazedChariot should have pulled off earlier getting around the back. He's finally decided to do. He's taking a lot of fire, though. I'd like to see him get around this side out of range of some of these Cerberus turrets. He set his sights on this T3 mass pump. Trouble is, of course, is that 8,400 hit points of pure resourcing gold. If those were Percival's, that wouldn't be a problem. Titans just don't have that punch. So finally he decides to go for this rear guard, or this rear mass point, but Zock is coming in with his command, or his ACU. He's going to be able to overcharge both of these without any trouble. Now that's going to be the end of that little attack, and indeed he's managed to fend off this attack on the right as well, and still Chariot hasn't expanded down here since that little two-man loyalist push. And also at the same time, Chariot's got this fat, but I feel like Chariot has the ability to finish off Zock, but not the inclination at this point in time. He certainly has the map dominance. He shouldn't be struggling. I mean, that's not to say that Zock isn't doing superbly well with what he's got. Chariot perhaps being just a little bit tentative, giving Zock the respect that he rightly deserves. So we bump it up a notch. See how this game moves on. Both of these guys looking pretty depleted of units at this point. Got a transport coming out for Chariot. That's heading for the edge of the neutral middle section. Dropping off a huge bunch of engineers. Definitely wanting to claim it for his own. 1 or 2 volleys going off from that fat boy, taking out a huge amount of engineers from Zock, who are just trying to get their hands on some reclaim for their boss. Feel very sorry for them indeed. Kablooey. But Hero Loyalist going in now, taking all the flack from the fat boy. Gonna pick up a huge bunch of engineers if he hadn't have got hit by the fat boy, but the fat boy going in for some friendly fire. Thanks a bunch, fat boy, say those engineers. You are making our life very difficult indeed as they start production on a tactical missile base. That could cause Zock some headaches if he's not prepared sufficiently with TMD, but the march of the bricks is on as they try to close distance on this fat boy. Chariot recognizes the threat and moves away, but at the same time a second fat boy comes in to reinforce. Look how much damage those bricks can absorb as they get behind a hill. That'll give them some nice cover. Very nicely done indeed from Zock. Helps them hold field position while at the same time getting some shelter from those fat boys. They're going to have to come around the side if they still want to put fire on the base, but it's not going to matter because, of course, Chariot still has air control and those broadswords are kicking around. Indeed, it doesn't look like Zock is trying to wrestle back air control at all. He's just going to get on and start producing some monkey lords. Get those spiders out there. It's probably a good call. He needs them to get in there and take out these frickin' fat boys, otherwise he's going to get bombed into next week, especially with these long-range tactical missiles that are now online in the middle. And that's going to cause all kinds of headaches. Of course, Chariot needs to be accurate with his targeting with those, doesn't want them to impact on the cliffs, because the Protectorate map gives your starting bases some pretty nice coverage, defensive coverage behind those natural walls. As those fat boys move up and start putting fire on this fringe section. But of course, if we take a look at Chariot, he's not going to see that monkey lord until it's very late on. So those fat boys, luckily he flies ASFs over them, or over that monkey lord at exactly the right time, so those fat boys don't get caught out. If you left it much longer, they could have been zapped. Of course, up close and personal fat boys, absolutely no match at all. And this second row of kind of T1 point defense that was going up from some redundant T1 engineers gets slaughtered by another engaging force of Titans. It's interesting to see how many Titans that Chariot is still producing. He hasn't switched up to Raw Percival. I personally would have. I guess he wants the raiding speed of the Titan. Now, of course, much quicker than the Percival. Wants to be able to move around the map quicker. And that's not a bad call against Zock, of course. His control of units around the map, you saw earlier, is so superb. His attention splitting capabilities is so superb, so you're going to need the speed. So I kind of understand why he's doing that. He's hidden these group of Titans kind of at the top right. Certainly Zock won't have forgotten about them. You can see he's massing loyalists up. Whether he's just kind of forcing Zock to defend on all corners. Of course, the problem with that is if you don't manage to take him out, you just leave Zock entrenched in a very heavily fortified base all around. But certainly Chariot is working on some alternative ideas. See, he's finally getting to work on some T3 power. He's been relying on... actually, he does have one up and running over there. Not sure how long that's been going on, but he's certainly deciding that now he needs to expand. That may have been why he hasn't managed to finish off Zock yet. Hasn't been expanding his eco at the same rate. He's just been kind of... he's hemmed Zock in, but he hasn't kind of continued to expand his empire, so to speak. Take a look at the ecos of how these guys are actually doing. That looks like a static 192 mass, maybe, unless he's solid. No, he's not reclaiming anything. It's 192 mass for Chariot and 128 for Zock, so a significant advantage on eco. He should be way ahead at this point. As those fat boys crept forward and have put some fire on that static formation of Zock. They are then going to turn around, of course, because the Monkey Lord's trying to chase him down. And he's primering all of those bangers. They're going to get absolutely slaughtered, which is pretty good news if you have air control, as currently Chariot does. He is going to lose all those Titans to the ranged capabilities of the bricks. That's a mistake in terms of attention for Chariot. But nothing he can do as that Monkey Lord manages to chase down one of the Fat Boys. Will he get the second one? This could be very interesting indeed. If he manages to take out that Fat Boy as well, that will really go some way to helping Zock reclaim some map control. Indeed he does. He's not going to be able to do much else with this monkey because of the coverage that CrazedChariot has got in the air. Those broadswords deal with it without any trouble. And another hero loyalist making his way into the bottom, just causing so much trouble. This bottom base should be secure for CrazedChariot, judging by the amount of air control he's got. But Zock doing a superb job just with the occasional single unit. Chariot once again marching in with groups of Titans, going to make another pass, it looks like, in front of the base. Will turn around and blap some of the pursuing loyalists in the face. That front loyalist backs off very wisely, manages to keep it alive, but it will move it in anyway. Decides better against it. Just lots of back and forth going on. Broadswords finally deal with those frickin' loyalists. Lots of engineers coming in again for CrazedChariots. They're on a tea break. They're not doing anything just yet, but you can bet when the trade unions get back from their meeting, they will once again start building stuff. But overhead in the middle, hell of a lot of ASF still on the field, and Zock still not trying to get back air control. He's just not interested. He says, no, I'm not into it. It's not happening. As we move into the 48th minute of this game, it's absolutely extraordinary. CrazedChariot, despite having so much of the map for so long, still doesn't look like he's in any danger of winning this game just yet. And a hero brick on the left-hand side for Zock, now causing problems at this top left base, and this must be winding Chariot up just endlessly. This would annoy me so much. It's like, why are you not dead? I've done all that I needed to do to win this game, but I can't finish you off. I sort of feel like more broadswords in these areas around the place would have just done well on patrol or something to help stop this kind of tactic that has been proven so useful for Zock in this game. As that brick goes down, and a couple of reinforcing loyalists march in very ill-advisedly to help. And I hadn't noticed, but that little tactical missile battery had been almost annihilated. There is one sitting there with 12 missiles in it, though, on 150 hit points. That could still cause some issues. It's all going to come down to whether or not he decides to make any use of it, and whether they've got TMD to prevent that doing any kind of significant damage. As once again, another little push on the bottom right-hand side from Zock. I cannot believe that he's still in this. And still, there's just nothing on the ground. It's just all he had to do was put some defending units, you know, around here, and then Zock wouldn't have been able to get a foothold back on this match. I sort of feel like he's had it on a platter. Of course, I can be overly critical. Chariot vastly superior to this game than I am, and it's damn sight easier saying what someone should do when you've got full map coverage. You can see everything. You know, I certainly can't play to anywhere near this standard, but it seems apparent that these are perhaps the things he could have done to stop Zock getting back in on it. He's going for double transport attacks now on these loyalists that are causing so much trouble. Eventually that goes down. But that's going to be the end of this base on the right-hand side. Another T2 factory is going to bite the dust from CrazedChariot as those bricks come marching in. As we pass the 52-minute mark, and still no end in sight. Whole transports, though, of Percivals. Finally, we're seeing some Percivals on the field for CrazedChariot, and I think that is the right call, especially considering the amount of bricks we're now seeing coming out from Zock. He needs the extra damage to contend with that, but finally, I'm saying finally a lot because this game's gone on so long. Finality is all that concerns me, but Zock has managed to reclaim control of the middle. Hasn't got any engineers to exploit that mass yet, but Chariot trying desperately to defend these continental drops that he's got coming in full of Percivals, and this could be trouble for Zock. Just when he looks like he's getting back in control, Percivals of course incredibly tanky and do an incredible amount of damage. There are a lot of Cerberus turrets, but you can see he's focusing them and they're just not doing a lot of damage to Zock's base. However, there is a monkey and that could save Zock. That's a grisly amount of Percivals. If that monkey can get inside the shield and start zapping these Percies, doesn't want to lose that T3 power, but he does, and the chain reaction takes with it an air factory. That monkey though marches forward, gets very heavily alphaed by these Percivals, but there just aren't enough to finish it off. Another continental full of Percies could have got that done. Oh god, I feel sorry for you, Chariot. He should have been able to get that done. That was a very nice drop indeed. Can't tell you the amount of times that's happened to me. Zock promptly working on getting that T3 power back up. Just gonna put that in that little group of T1 power plants. Won't be getting any bonus from that. He's gonna get some shields wisely around it. You want to protect your volatile structures. As another strategic missile defense goes up. I guess he lost it earlier. But the question is, are we seeing any nuke? We are seeing a nuke launcher. I don't know whether he spotted that, and that's what that's all about. But a nuke launcher is finally in production for CrazedChariot. Must be thinking at this point, God, what do I have to do to finally get the better of this guy? But quick spam up of a missile. Going to get one in the clip, one in the hole. Make sure that his base is covered. Unless Chariot manages to snipe that, his nuke launcher isn't going to be of much use at all. Another two fat boys though on the field for Chariot. It's going to give him some nice defensive courage, or courage. Well, might give him some courage, but some nice defensive coverage. But the trouble is, he hasn't got any PD at this forward base, and I sort of feel like these units, if he's got some loyalists in there, they could just march forward, take that fire from the fat boy, and start doing some damage. Get some bricks in there as well, especially with this group of reinforcing loyalists. There was a very cheeky engineer from Zock trying to reclaim that wreck, that fat boy wreck from CrazedChariot. CrazedChariot tried to get out there himself, of course, to spot it. He spotted it trying to get out there to get some reclaim. But now these forward forces from Zock just trying to protect it, but they're not going to be able to contend with the range from those fat boys. They wisely decide to back off. And if you look at how the map has changed, it is now bisected down the middle once again. It is now more or less half and half. With, if these were ground offensive units, though, Zock could change that quite quickly. Indeed, there's not much on the ground at all except for T1 point defense over on the left-hand side. One of the mass points is dead. The other three are only at T1, so it's not like this forward or this upper base is producing that much for Chariot at all. But still, epic amounts of ASFs, and they will provide nice coverage for the strap bombers that are going to come in and wipe half of those bangers off the face of the map. Continentals on a flyby. Not going to use those like the other transports just yet, not with all of those bangers still in play. Going to use the strap bombers to finish those off, moving far too quickly for those bangers to have any meaningful effect, as there are just 2 left. But a monkey on his way to the top left, and that will put that base firmly back in Zock's hands. We reached more or less the hour mark. I just can't believe how long this game has gone on. It's absolutely intense. Both fat boys lining up. Half of their firepower is impacting on these cliffs, however. These cliffs. Losing the ability to speak. Just overwhelmed by the amount of stuff that's been going on in this replay. Still, Zock hasn't quite got control down here, and he doesn't necessarily want to expend too much eco on getting control when it would be so easy for Chariot to outrange him with these fat boys. But another monkey making its way down there. If he can take out these fat boys somehow, that would set him in very good stead. But the trouble is, with that many Percivals, I think he's going to struggle with just one monkey. I think that monkey could find himself getting absolutely alphaed as we zoom in and take a look at the hit points of that monkey. Watch him get absolutely annihilated. Manages to take down about 3 Percivals, taking Fat Boy fire on top of it. That was not a good assignment at all for that monkey. But there's another one under production. Don't worry, this is literally March of the Monkey Lords. In fact, they're being produced all over. But Zock just managing to claw his way back into this game bit by bit. As Fat Boys move in and start bombarding this side base yet again. And the trouble is, of course, for Zock, is there are now 2 T3 power generators, which I imagine he can't afford to lose. Although he's on 12,000 power, he's not hurting for power at all. So I think he can afford to lose them. As that monkey tries to make his way south. Of course, seeing what happened to his brethren should make him stop and think. We've got strap bombers. We've heard their bombs going off for some time now. And they've been working on clearing out this bottom right-hand corner again. So the game just playing play by play, changing minute by minute. No idea what's going to happen in the outcome on this one. I've got to say, I'm quite glad I hadn't seen TA's original cast of this. But a lot of ASFs coming in now from Zock to clear up those strap bombers. And it's not enough to get full air control, but it's enough to take out some strap bombers. And I'd actually like to see him save these now that the ASFs of Chariots have engaged. He should have taken down those first couple of strap bombers and withdrawn, just so he can continue to get enough number out and maybe get back air control altogether. And turn this game on its head once again. But Zock looking very much more comfortable indeed at this stage. Just spewing out monkeys one after another. With absolutely no end in sight, I'm literally exasperated. 1 hour, 4 minutes, this game now. Sort of wish I could shout back down some imaginary comms back in time to CrazedChariot and just tell him to engage. Save my brain before it all comes dribbling out of my nose. Oh, quite a serious amount of bricks massing alongside these monkeys now. Sort of you get the feeling that the longer this goes on, Zock is gaining advantage after advantage. He's clawed his way back from a very precarious position indeed. Chariot unable to finish him off when he had the advantage. And these broadswords who've been sniping some mass in the middle aren't going to make it home, I don't think, because ASFs from Zock's camp just pounce on them. Trouble is, of course, every time he does that, yes, he takes out the broadswords, but he doesn't manage to keep those interceptors alive, just purely because of the huge quantity that CrazedChariot has in terms of ASFs of his own. Of course, if he had the ASFs protecting the broadswords for those missions, might manage to hold on to them. But this is now March of the Monkeys as they come in. They promptly get zapped by the huge number of Percivals. This is still why I feel that UEF aren't that hard done by when it comes to not having a direct fire experimental, because the Percival is so dangerous. But that's a lot of bricks coming in as well, with a lot of covering fire on the microwave laser of the Monkey Lord. And he just ran out of Percivals. That is going to be severe troubles for Chariot if he allows those fat boys to go down to this Spider. Spider still sitting on 1,300 hit points. Fat boy's incredibly slow. And he gets the laser off. Looks like he might at least manage to take down one fat boy before he goes down, which he does. CrazedChariot manages to save at least one of the fatties, but he's completely run out of land units. He's got his nuke up and running. He has one in the clip. He's about to have a second one. But of course, without any way to take out that nuke defense, you can see it's going to be incredibly useful. Zock still just producing monkey after monkey in his main base. He's got his commander on assisting with it. He's got quite a lot of ASFs again. He's doing quite well at managing to produce just enough to take out those key air units as and when he needs to. But if he could just hold on to what ASFs he can, if he could be more tactical with, get in, take them out, the high value targets, and get back into the coverage of his base, he could stand a chance to regain full air control. And if he can do that, the way he's been playing, I'd say this game would probably be over. Chariot just not quite able to deal enough damage. He's got his commander sitting here under the one shield in his base. You sort of think the constant kind of warfare that's been going on around Zock's base has forced him to turn it into a bit of a fortification. He's got, you know, Cerberus turrets up here. He's got some Cerberus turrets and flak at the back. He's got this forward section of a base here, which he's been guarding with monkeys, although that's actually been completely obliterated by the last rush. Well, it's not real rush with fat boys, you don't do that, but the last attack from the fat boys. Whereas CrazedChariot just seems to have a lot less on the field. He's been attack, 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 but the attacks haven't finished Zock off. And now he's sort of, I mean, the lull in activity, it really just does leave you thinking, does he know what to do? Does he know where he's going to go next? He's currently producing more fat boys. Of course, this is a problem with UEFs. They don't have the tanky stroll into people's base experimentals. But I think if you've got air control, you've just got to go with mass Percy drops. Try and get them in round the back of your opponent's base and just march them en masse. Get in maybe with some gunships. Try and have a scout first, see how many strategic missile defenses they've got. I mean, if he got in now with enough broadswords, I can only see that. Let's have a look, actually. I click Zock. He's got one. He's got one that's got 3 in the clip. If he could take that out with some broadswords, this would be all over. And it's sort of, and I've said it before, it's a feature that you don't always see with the higher level players. Sometimes they can get to this stage in the game and they might not play as well as an average Joe sometimes. And I know that sounds ridiculous, but in terms of the idea of strategy, because they're not used to playing at this level, or at this level, it's completely the wrong choice of words, sorry, this late on in the game, and you could just sort of see them going, well, you know, feeling a bit bemused, thinking, now what? And that's what's allowed Zock to get back into this game. Whereas a player who spends their entire life turtling, waiting to build game enders, will be very used to using them and thinking of it in terms of that. Whereas CrazedChariot has just been, for the most part for this game, thinking, I've got to kill him with Titans. Keep sending them in, keep sending them in. And it's what's allowed Zock to get back into this this match. I mean, he's got 2 nukes down here. Why doesn't he even send a nuke over here to try and take out some monkeys? You know, if he's not going to use it, he's got a very valuable resource there. And a couple of strap bombers in with some broadswords. Send the ASFs in there first to clear out all of these ASFs, so you've got a free reign. Take that out, bang. That is Zock's main base gone. I sort of feel like he's just not thinking of it in terms of that, and I think it's a bit of a mistake. I don't know whether he just didn't want to finish it that way, but it seems very apparent to me. I mean, that's, you know, someone who is a average Joe himself and thinks of it in terms of that. That's the sort of mindset I would have at this point. But I'm going to increase the speed just a little bit. See which one of these guys makes a move first. We've actually got a nuke launcher in production for Zock. The question is there any nuke defense out for Chariot? He's got the nuke launcher. I think this game has just gone on so long. It's taken all of the energy out of Chariot. And that's why he's kind of stuck in this rut. He hasn't got round to building any kind of nuke defense. He's floating a colossal amount of mass. He could do it quite easily. He's got so many engineers. Wonder if he's watching telly at the same time. Certainly it's one of the more epic games I've ever seen from two such high-class players. Love to see these fat boys move forward and outrange this group of bangers that are just sitting there waiting to get annihilated. This little Titan's made its way on a run-by through, but promptly gets zapped by a horde of bricks. And finally, this little top left base, which really has had nothing done to it at all, is going to get swept aside. Zock starting to look like he's in a very commanding position indeed. Gets that nuke in that silo. He's going to be looking very healthy. Let's see how he's doing. He's building a lot of power. Economically wise, he's not doing too bad. Guess he wants to put a load of stuff on that. So we knock it up a notch to +2. And that is firmly a loss at the top left for Chariot. Zock's moving in with engineers to retake it. And we've gone from Zock having 3/4 of the map to CrazedChariot having 3/4 of the map, and what looks like now back to Zock once again being firmly in control. He's producing an awful lot of strat bombers. He's got a buttload of engineers in that Continental. I've never seen anyone load so many engineers. I didn't know it could take that many. That's extraordinary. I don't know what that's in aid of. Where that's going, if we hold shift, we can see he's literally just going to the front. I don't know what he's planning with that. As these broadswords come out now to help deal with that. But yeah, he's amassing quite a lot of strat bombers. I guess he's kind of just thinking, this has gone on far too long, I need to go for the snipe. But that's a hell of a lot of monkeys. Things are really going to heat up now. You get the feeling they're just posturing for this final assault that's going to come. The question is he building that nuke? Yes, he is. And if Zock gets a read on his base, Chariot will be in real trouble. And there's 3 nukes in here now. God, I want him to use them. I want him to use them so much. He could send those strat bombers in now, take out that nuke defense. It's not even covered by shields. Back then, of course, the strat bombers were slightly balked. If there was an issue of them coming off the height map, they would have a tendency to drop short or overshoot. But I'm pretty sure at their level they could manage to overcome that as these Monkey Lords push forward on these 3 fat boys and this horde of Percivals, utilizing the coverage that this little mountain or this little hillock is giving them. Taking a lot of fire though. It's a lot of fat boys to walk head on into. I feel if you're going to commit, you've got to commit. You can't wander around in the range of those fat boys. They will ruin your day. As we're coming up to the 1 hour and 15 minute mark of game time. This is outrageous. Another huge Continental full of engineers. What those engineers are actually doing. He's very concerned about the Monkey Lords on this side, so that's what they're for. They are going to spam up as many Ravagers as they can get. I'd like to see him get some shielding on. Just like to see him expand, you know? Get some shields all over his base. I'd love to see him build a nuke defense, because I really think Zock is going to be on the ball. He's spamming that up. That's clearly a focus for him. He's probably spotted that Chariot doesn't have any nuke defense. And that is going to cost Chariot the game. There is no doubt. And I'm sure CrazedChariot would have watched this back and he'd been kicking himself that he didn't go for the snipe on that that anti-nuke. Because he could have had this game literally half an hour ago. But instead he's allowed Zock back into the game. He's got 3/4 of the mass on the map back, maybe more if you count the middle. And, a few engineers biting the dust there for Zock, Just as they complete that bottom mass point, it promptly gets annihilated. Some Ravagers, or a Ravager on the left-hand side, going to town on this brick. But unfortunately for him, there are 2 more bricks. Does manage to take one of them out. Engineers trying to get as many of them up as possible. Chariot must just be thinking, how have I let this happen? How has this match got away from me? One word, Zock. That's how. So it's all well and good me saying how certain players might do things better at different abilities, but I would never have lasted this long against CrazedChariot, so it's all academic. He would have annihilated me in the first 10 minutes, if that. In fact, I'd love to have gone 10 minutes against CrazedChariot. But over here on the left, we've got a serious air engagement now. Question is, who's got the larger number of ASS? It looks like CrazedChariot does. These broadswords allowed to go to town on this Monkey Lord. However, there's a hell of a lot of bangers coming in. Question is, will they be able to finish off these broadswords? Not before they get the monkey, I shouldn't think. He's going to lose another one, though, so 3 or 4 broadswords down there for Craze. This one, will it make it out? I don't think it will. Yes, he does, with 170 hit points. But look at this push on the left-hand side. A lot of bricks coming in now for Chariot. Sorry, for Zock. Chariot's got a few Percies, though. Look how good they are at alpha striking those bricks. How long is left on this nuke? Absolutely nothing. And there it goes. And that is the end of the game. There are no nuke defense silos in Chariot's main base. He's got 4 nukes that he never used, and that really pains me. See if we can see where it's going.
Strategic launch detected.
He launches one of his own. He's marching his comm out of his base. Does he even know what the status is in terms of nuke defense on CrazedChariot's base? And that is painful. That will signify the end of the game. Chariot does save his comm. He's going to wait and see what happens with this nuke, but he's going to be very disappointed. That gets shot down. And that will be game. He might as well engage with everything he can now. Absolutely nothing he can do. As he just chills at the back. He must just be, how did I let that get away from me? Certainly he could have won it on a number of different occasions. Bump that up to +2. I don't know what he can do, if anything, at this point. It's probably worth a capitulation. Might as well send some units in, I guess. Indeed, he just GG. He doesn't even GG, he just leaves. He disgusted with himself, no doubt. But he really shouldn't be. He played a blinding game. 1 hour and 20 minutes on the nail. Oh my god, my eyes. I hope that's not been too overwhelming for you guys. I'm not even sure how long the cast of it has run, but I can see why TA wanted that redone. What an unbelievable game. This definitely deserves the title of Epic, so I will be putting more of those up in the near future at some point when I've recovered. But for now, that's enough from me, guys. This is Gyle, signing out.